And now let's bring in Donald Trump's senior advisor and former campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, President-elect Trump said in his statement about Fidel Castro's death that his administration will do all it can to ensure the Cuban people can finally begin their journey toward prosperity and liberty. But he's also promised to reverse President Obama's opening to Cuba. How will ending diplomatic relations and pulling American businesses out help achieve prosperity and liberty?
Martha, first, thanks for having me. So what President-elect Trump was saying yesterday is that the first priority that he has is to make sure those political prisoners under Fidel Castro are released, and that the people of Cuba finally, after 60 years of oppression, know economic and political and religious freedom. He is open to researching and, in fact, resetting relations with Cuba, but his criticism of what has happened in the last couple of years is very simple. It's that we got nothing in return. That by reopening diplomatic relations with Cuba, allowing commercial aircraft and the rest, that we really got nothing in return. And we didn't get those political prisoners released. We did not get assurances that Cubans who still live on the island would in fact be religiously and politically and economically free. We also respect the thousands and hundreds of thousands of Cubans who live here who fled that oppression, fled that poverty, fled who they believe to be a dictator. And as Ted Cruz is saying on your program, has 60 years of blood on his hands. And we just can't romanticize Fidel Castro now that he's gone. We have to take a look at the way he ran his country in direct opposition to the freedom and the democracy that we have here in the United States. So it's much like Donald Trump on trade. You don't just give up everything and get nothing in return. I think that's very clear in the president-elect's message across any number of issues.
But he has to get all of that in return or he reverses the opening?
He hasn't said that, and he's open. Again, I've discussed this with him directly. He's open to any number of possibilities, but we remain very firm that when you open up diplomatic relations, as President Obama has with Cuba and Fidel Castro in the last several years, that to get nothing in return, including political prisoners and assurances that people on the island of Cuba will be free politically and economically. I mean, I've personally met, I'm sure you have, victims of Fidel Castro's oppression and his torture and his imprisonment. I, many years ago, was very touched as a young girl meeting Armando Valladares, who then went on to write a book, Against All Hope, and a movie made on the book. And that's just one example of many. We all have friends, I'm sure, who have those stories of Cubans coming in the dead of night with $20 in their pocket and children strapped into a boat trying to come to the free land 60 miles away, and they indeed have done that. So to the extent that President Trump can open up new conversations with Cuba, it would have to be a very different Cuba. And again, he's all about America first, American workers, American interests, Americans, American allies, and certainly Americans. And in that regard, he wants to make sure that when the United States of America, when he's president, engages in any type of diplomatic relations or trade agreements for that matter and the like, that we as America are being protected and we as America are getting something in return.
Kellyanne, I want to turn to the personnel this week. You waded into the cabinet selection process with some tweets this week concerning Governor Mitt Romney, saying you're receiving a deluge of social media and private communications about Romney. Some Trump loyalists warn against him as Secretary of State, adding later that being loyal was an important quality for the job. Why did you weigh in on Governor Romney?
I weigh in privately. First of all, let me make very clear, Martha, that there's one person who will select his cabinet, and it's President-elect Donald Trump. Whatever he decides will have my full support and respect, and he knows that, as does Vice President-elect Pence. I think that there was the Never Trump movement, and then there was Governor Mitt Romney. He went out of his way to hurt Donald Trump. He gave two speeches that I can recall in this calendar year, and they were both about Donald Trump. Evan McMullin ran in the state of Utah for president. We don't know who Mitt Romney voted for. But apart from that, and look, I'm glad they're talking. I've been critical of Mitt Romney in the past, and I also last week on your network and other places talked about how I was very pleased that the president-elect and Governor Romney had met out at Bedminster. I was there when they met. I'm glad that two job creators who also have the very rare privilege of having represented their Republican Party as its presidential nominee had a chance to discuss issues on the world stage.
I don't understand why you took to Twitter on this. Why you, Kellyanne Conway, took to Twitter on this. Why not go to Mr. Trump? Did he want you to tweet that? Or is that just you talking?
I won't discuss that, but I will tell you that I've already weighed in privately because I've been asked to. First of all, it's Donald Trump who's going to form his cabinet. But I did want to say something else. This is Trump's party now, and he won states that Mitt Romney lost. He's the one with the political instincts, the brilliance. This is his cabinet to form. I mean, he won Michigan. Mitt Romney lost it by 10. We won Pennsylvania. Mitt Romney lost Iowa by, 5 points or so. We won it by 9. We won Ohio. And so I just think that the political instincts, and it wasn't just, I only wish Governor Romney had been as critical of Hillary Clinton and her policy positions. I'm all for party unity. I'm a big party unity person. And look what Donald Trump's done. He's got Nikki Haley in the cabinet, UN ambassador, daughter of Indian immigrants. He's met with Ted Cruz. He's taken calls from Mitt Romney, from Jeb Bush, from John Kasich, from Carly Fiorina. I think he's working with Speaker Ryan. Reince Priebus, the RNC chairman, is now his chief of staff going into this new White House. So we're all for party unity. I don't think a cost of admission for party unity has to be the Secretary of State position.
I want to turn to Hillary Clinton. And when Mr. Trump says that he does not want to pursue investigations of Hillary Clinton, what does he mean by that? Is he asking the FBI or the Justice Department to just stand down?
No, he's not. He respects the integrity of those institutions, and the next leaders of those institutions, when he's president, will do their jobs without the interference of the executive branch and the President of the United States. At the same time, President-elect Trump is being very magnanimous. What he said to the New York Times in the on-the-record interview was that he's just not focused on that right now. He's not focused on Hillary Clinton.
Well, did he overstep his role by making those public comments? Should he have been making public comments about that?
He's welcome to. He's the president-elect. He's about to be the leader of the free world. But he is not undercutting anybody's authority in any of those branches, as any of those positions. Martha, as you and I can know and respect, different people will have the authority and the autonomy to make those decisions based on the evidence presented to them. But this is how the president-elect feels at this moment about Hillary Clinton. I would say in response that I guess her attitude towards that is to have her counsel, Mark Elias, go and join this ridiculously fantastical recount that Jill Stein is engaging in Wisconsin and perhaps elsewhere. So you've got the president-elect Donald Trump being quite magnanimous to Hillary Clinton, and you've got her responding with joining into this this recount where Jill Stein had got 33,000 votes in Wisconsin. And he's tweeted about half a dozen times,
I think. Why is he tweeting so much about that recount?
Well, he's able to weigh in. He has probably 30 million followers on Facebook and Twitter. But for him weighing in on issues like that on that platform, perhaps many of his followers would never hear the full information. But I guess the real question is, why in the world can't the Democrats, quote, accept the election results? All they did was ask people like me and Mr. Trump himself 6 ways to Sundays, 1 million times plus, Martha, will you accept the election results? Why, at the last debate in Las Vegas, did Mr. Trump say that he'll keep us in suspense, he'll let us know, he'll accept the election results if he wins? And now you've got Hillary Clinton, who on election night, Martha, called Donald Trump to both congratulate him and to concede the election to him. I was standing right there. Mr. Trump was on my phone with her. I didn't hear him say, well, Secretary Clinton just conceded, but she said, unless, of course, 2.5 weeks from now, Jill Stein, who got less than 1% of the vote nationwide, decides that she should issue a recount, raise $7 million and go have a recount in Wisconsin. Jill Stein got 33,000 votes in Wisconsin. Mr. Trump got 1.4 million. 33,000 votes is like the number of people who tailgate at a Packers game. It is not a serious effort to change the election results. So the question for the Democrats is, why are you doing this? And by the way, what does President Obama think of this recount charade? He has 8 weeks left to finish out his term, and I think it's quite small of Jill Stein and Hillary Clinton's counsel and perhaps her to interfere with the last 8 weeks of President Obama's legacy. President Obama and President-elect Trump speak speak regularly. They spoke yesterday at length. They're trying to move on and form a government. It's high time that Hillary and her supporters do the same.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks very much, Kellyanne Conway.